Hi, friends. Happy Thursday. I hope you're having a great day. I've got two really cool books to show you all. And the first one is an adapted book. It's called The Little Engine That Could. It's got all of this cool stuff we're going to look at together. The first page here, it says it's the introduction page, and it says The Little Engine That Could by Watty Piper. Okay, let's read this. It says, chug, 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 puff, 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 ding dong, ding dong. The little red train rumbled down the tracks. The train cars were filled with toys and food for boys and girls. There were animals and dolls. There was a funny toy clown. There were toy planes, books, and puzzles. The train car also had food. There were oranges and apples and even candy for treats. Okay, let's look at this. So here's the oranges right here, and this is the little engine that could, and this is that silly clown. Let's keep reading. On the next page, it says, the little red train was carrying all of these things to the other side of the mountain. The little red train suddenly stopped. The little red train could not go any farther. The little red train was stuck. So here's the little red train right here, and it is stuck. Let's find out what happens. The funny clown and the other toys were worried that they would not get to the boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. The funny clown saw a big shiny train coming. The funny clown asked the big shiny train for help. Please, will you help us? Said the funny clown to the big shiny train. So here's the clown right here, and he's asking this train for help. That's the big shiny train. The big shiny train snorted. I do not carry toys and food. I carry passengers. I will not help you. The toys were sad. So that's the big shiny train right there. He's refused to help. Let's find out what happens. The funny clown and all of the other toys were worried that they would not get to the boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. The funny clown saw a big black train coming. The funny clown asked the big black train for help. Please, will you help us? Said the funny clown to the big black train. Okay, here's the big black train right here. And this is the funny clown asking him for help. The funny clown. Oh, there we go. Let's go backwards. There we go. The big black train bellowed. I do not carry toys and food. I carry machines. I will not help you. The toys were sad. So there's the big black train there, and he's refused to help too. The funny clown and all of the other toys were worried that they would not get to the boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. The funny clown saw a big gray train coming. The funny clown asked the big gray train for help. Please, will you help us? Said the funny clown to the big gray train. So this is the next train coming, and there's the clown asking for help again. The big gray train sighed. I am too tired. I must rest. I will not help you. The toys were sad. So this train's not going to help either. The funny clown and all of the other toys were worried that they would not get to the boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. The funny clown saw a little blue train coming. The funny clown asked the little blue train for help. Please, will you help us? Said the funny clown to the little blue train. So here he is asking a fourth train for help. Let's find out what happened. The little blue train was nervous. I am little. I have never been to the other side of the mountain. Please, said the funny clown. I think I can, said the little blue train. So he's going to help him. Let's find out if they make it. Puff, puff, chug, chug. The little blue train went up the mountain. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, said the little blue train. The little blue train took all of the toys and the food to the boys and girls of the other side of the mountain. So the little blue train helped out and got all of this food, like these oranges and the toys like the clown and the elephant here, to the other side of the mountain. Hooray, hooray, shouted the funny clown. I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could, said the little blue train. So that's the little blue train right there. Isn't that wonderful? These are some of the things we talked about. Here's the funny clown right here. And here's several of the trains that we asked for help. So here's the big gold one. Remember, it didn't want to help. And over here, we have the black train. It didn't want to help. But finally, the little blue train helped them, the little engine that could get over the mountain. So, yeah, that's a wonderful book. And I just love that it's adapted. I have another book to look at with you all today. It's called Apple Harvest, Curious George. Let's find out what happens. I think right now is when everyone's harvesting apples because it's fall time. Let's read this book. It says, it was harvest time, and Mr. Rinkins needed help picking the apples. George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were happy to lend a hand. Or foot. Mr. Rankins explained that they needed to collect every apple. So there's Curious George, and he's helping pick the apples with his feet. I'm going to join the missus round the back, he said. Once you fill that cart, you can unload it into the washing trough. Mr. Rinkins took his cart full of apples to the barn and dumped them into the water. It must be their bath time, George thought. So there he is right there, putting the apples in a bath to wash them. George climbed up the branches and collected the shiny red apples in his friend's hat and put them into the cart. What fun! High up in the tree, he saw Jumpy Squirrel picking apples too. George decided to help. He took Jumpy's apple and tossed it into the cart with the rest of Mr. Rinkin's apples, but Jumpy wanted that apple for himself. He leaped in to take it back, and George tried to stop him. Okay, do we see the squirrel right there? He's jumped in. He wants his apple back. Easy now, George. That lever releases all of the apples. So you see the lever right there he pulled? That released all of the apples out of the cart. Easy now, George. That lever releases all of the apples, said his friend. George looked at the lever. He thought it was an excellent way to get Jumpy out of the cart. George, no! George pulled the lever and Jumpy tumbled out along with all of the apples. That's okay, said his friend with a sigh. We can gather them up again. But Jumpy had found his apple and he ran to hide it in the barn. George decided to follow. So there's Jumpy right there hiding his apple in the barn. And there's George following him. Let's find out what happens. George looked around the inside of the barn in wonder. There were all sorts of things to climb on and swing from. It must be some kind of monkey playground. But George was not here to play. He had to get that apple from Jumpy. If only it wasn't so dark in the barn. He found the light switch and flipped it. So look at these. This is all of the machines inside the barn there. Everything moved. It was a machine, not a playground. George wondered how it worked. He watched the bucket scoop up the apples. He decided that they must carry the apples high away from squirrels. But wait, where was Jumpy? So he's pondering how this works. There he was. Jumpy still had the apple he took from the cart. George chased Jumpy, grabbing the apple, and he threw it into a bin high out of reach. Suddenly, the machine stopped. So there's Jumpy right there. George found a button and pushed, and the machine started again. This time, all of the parts started working, including the moving belt. But when he looked up, he saw all of the Rinkins' beautiful apples being chopped to bits. They chopped up apples dropped into a giant barrel, and a lid was lowered tightly on top of them. So here's the apples, and they're getting chopped up, and then the lid is pressing down on them. Too lightly, liquid began to pour out of the barrel. What a mess! George had an idea. He ran up and put his mouth under the liquid. It tasted good, a lot like apples, but there was too much of it. Luckily, he saw these empty containers. So there it is dripping, and he found these empty containers right here. George scrambled to put the containers on the moving belt fast enough to catch the liquid. Then he looked down at the end of the belt and saw the containers falling onto the floor. Uh-oh! George ran to catch them. Then he needed to stop the machine. So it's all going, and now you see how it's dropping off? He's got to catch them. Soon he had filled all of the containers, but the golden liquid continued to pour. He looked around for another container and saw a big pair of rubber boots. Isn't that silly? The apple cider is going into the rubber boots now that George put there. At last the boot was filled. The liquid stopped pouring out and the machine stopped. Whew! The farmers and George's friend appeared in the doorway. "Well, I'll be," Mr. Rinkins exclaimed. George froze. The Rinkinsons would surely be upset that he ruined all of the apples. "George," Miss Rinkins rushed up to him. "You've done a fantastic job. All of that cider already pressed and bottled. Thank you." So they're thanking him right here. "This is some machine," said the man with the yellow hat. "See, the apples are washed here," Miss Rinkins explained. So they're explaining how it worked. Then they are lifted up to the chopper because chopped apples give more juice. The juice is pressed out of the apples and then bottled. George had not ruined the apples after all. He turned them into cider. Mr. Rinkins handed an apple to George. "Here, you've earned it," he said. George knew someone who wanted the apple more than he did. He had enough apples for one day. And right here, he's giving it to his friend there, Mr. Jumpy. I think that's a great book, a good fall book too. And it was called Curious George and the Apple Harvest. I hope you have a great day today, and we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll have a good time then too. See you later, friends. Goodbye.